Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex or Nuznuz here, and today's video is going to be about 10 crucial abilities for PVM. These are abilities that all have a variety of uses and are super important for PVM. If you want to get better at PVM or progress your account, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss another video. Alright, so firstly, we're going to start off with some newer abilities. The first is Greater Concentrated Blast. This ability was released in July of 2021 and is dropped from Carapac. It currently costs 141 mil to buy, and it's a dual-wield magic ability. Now what this ability does is it upgrades the normal Concentrated Blast ability. Now each beam of the Greater Concentrated Blast increases your next hit's attack chance to force a critical hit by 5% per hit, up to a maximum of 15%. So your first hit will deal 17 to 79% damage, you'll get 17 to 89% damage for the second hit, and 19 to 99% for the third hit. This is amazing because you can basically Concentrated Blast and then immediately use another ability and receive the plus 15 increased critical strike chance on that ability. The other great thing about this ability is it will also affect itself, so it stacks. So the first hit affects the second hit, giving that hit a 5% chance to critical strike, and then the third hit will get a 10% chance to critical strike, and then finally the ability you use after Concentrated Blast will get a 15% critical strike chance. So this is just super powerful, and of course it's a basic ability, and if you're either camping dual wield mage or switching for 4-ticking, this is a must-have for majors. Next we have the Greater Ricochet ability, an extremely expensive but powerful ability. Greater Ricochet is currently going for 1.8 billion GP, and it's unlocked using a Greater Ricochet ability codex that's dropped from Ricochet. But it is so powerful you can definitely justify this price tag if you have the money. It's a ranged basic ability and it hits for 20% to 100% ability damage and will strike 2 nearby targets within a 6-foot radius. If there are no suitable secondary targets, it will instead damage the primary one. But the most overpowered thing about this ability is its interaction with the Chroming perk and with Hydrix bolts. Using the Chroming 4 perk on your weapon will allow you to hit up to 6 times on your primary target for a maximum of 260% ability damage. However, the other great thing is if you use Hydrix bolts. If the Hydrix bolts proc when you use Greater Ricochet, you can gain adrenaline for each hit, sometimes gaining a huge amount of adrenaline, which really makes this ability overpowered. Not to mention it's a basic with a 10-second cooldown, so you can basically use it all the time. Next we have an ability called Bladed Dive. Bladed Dive is a movement ability that is bought from the Shattered Worlds minigame for 63 million anima. This may seem like a lot to you, but you can gain tons of anima per hour. This ability requires a dual wield melee weapon. It can be used outside of global cooldown and lets you click on the ground anywhere you want to go, and it will basically dive to that location, dealing damage. Some instances of this ability being useful is for mobility at places like elite dungeons if you're trying to navigate them faster, at Solok to jump onto the pads he puts on the ground easier, and especially for Raksha where you can use the laceration boots and an AoE weapon and can easily clear all the shadow pools from Raksha on phase 3. All around, this is a good utility and movement ability that I recommend everybody get. Next is Omnipower, but not just Omnipower, the upgraded Omnipower ability. Now this is basically unlocked when you're wearing a specific cape, and that cape is the Igneous Calm Edge, which is the upgraded magic cape from the new Zuck boss fight where you need the magic Kiln cape and an Igneous Stone. When you wear this cape, it reduces the adrenaline cost of Omnipower from being an ultimate at 100% to 60%, and the ability hits the target 4 times, dealing 90% to 180% ability damage. It's honestly just super good, and it's absolutely amazing as an ability, and it feels like kind of like a mini Greater Ricochet for mage, and will definitely give you more options for dealing damage and dumping adrenaline. You can see just how good this does under Sunshine, and it won't cost you anything if you're able to defeat Zuck in normal mode without dying. Next we have the Corruption Blast and Shot abilities. These are basics unlocked from the Mazcab ability codex, which is around 30 mil each. If you don't have these unlocked, they are a crucial basic ability and used in almost every ranged and magic DPS rotation. Corruption Blast is a bleed ability that does 100% to 300% damage over 5 hits, with Corruption Shot being the same but for ranged. It's just a very good overall basic, and one that you should get as soon as possible because, like I said, it's basically a staple of every damage rotation. The next ability is a bit more niche, but if you own a Saren Godbow or use melee or ranged a lot, it's really good. This is the Ingenuity of the Humans ability. This is obtained by using an Ingenuity of the Humans codex, which costs around 150 mil as of recording. The ability does not generate or consume adrenaline, and it doesn't deal any damage. Instead, it makes it so your next ability used within 6 seconds has an 100% hit chance. This is absolutely amazing if you're using mage or melee, but you have a Saren Godbow. For instance, this allows you to use the Saren Godbow at Telos or the Archglacior without the ranged combat style, which is very, very powerful. It also lets you use the vulnerability spell with ranged or melee, the smoke cloud spell with ranged or melee, and also the Statius Warhammer spec while using ranged or magic is also possible. It's all around a great situational ability. Next we have the Onslaught ability, which is not used as much by higher tier PVMers, but it is great for beginners trying to get into higher level PVM, and Onslaught can be obtained from using the Mass Capability Codex, costing around 30 mil. This ability is a channeled ultimate ability that does channeled hits, dealing more and more damage each hit. You initially will pay 25% adrenaline per hit, and then you'll start paying with life points instead after your adrenaline runs out. This is a great ability for beginner PVMers at places with DPS checks or where you need to focus on something else and can't really focus on your DPS. At Araxi, this is nice for the last phase for onslaughting when Araxor sends out the core, so you can focus on prayer flicking and kill him before the core hits you. Or it's good for next for the blood phase. If you aren't confident in your DPS, this can be a way to phase next. This is also good at Virago while in a team on certain phases, so all around this is just a good ability for people looking to learn new bosses. So the next ability is the Limitless ability, which is unlocked by using a Limitless ability codex created with 2000 vital sparks, costing around 420 mil as of recording. The Limitless ability is a basic ability that when used for 6 seconds, all threshold abilities can be used without the 50% adrenaline requirement, only requiring 15% adrenaline instead. This ability is very expensive, but also absolutely amazing for increasing your DPS. You can basically use an ultimate, do a basic or two, and then get off 2 thresholds almost immediately. For instance, at the Archglacior, I can Death Swiftness, Adrenaline Pot, Saren Godbow spec, do a basic, and Limitless to get off 2 thresholds. Basically, I can do all this in a short period of time compared to not having Limitless. It's just super powerful, and if you're looking for a DPS increase and not sure what to buy next, this could be a great option depending on what gear you have already. So after this we have the Devotion ability. Now this is a defensive threshold that can be bought with 3500 reward currency from the Anima Islands, Distraction and Diversion, and it can also be obtained by killing General Gardor or Kriara with also their minions dropping it. This ability is a threshold, and when activated, Protection Prayers and Deflect Curses will reduce the damage of the current style to 1 for 10 seconds, essentially making you take no damage from the current style. This can also be extended by 5 seconds for each opponent killed, capped at 2 total times for a total devotion duration of 20 seconds. Now this ability is amazing. I used it constantly when PVMing, and it will basically reduce the damage you take versus one style to 0 when being attacked by one style and extending it, so it's super useful almost everywhere. Now last but certainly not least is Sunshine and Death Swiftness ultimate abilities. These are unlocked after completing the Grandmaster quest The World Wakes, and both of these abilities create a circle covering the ground and grant a 50% increase to their magic damage for Sunshine or range damage for Death Swiftness for 30 seconds, which can be extended with the Planted Feet perk. Now this is absolutely vital for almost all DPS rotations, and it's one of, if not the core ability for DPS rotations with magic or ranged. And if I could recommend any ability on this list, if you do not have these ultimates, make sure you go and get these right away. These are probably the most important. And that's going to do it for all the abilities. I wanted to make sure to include some of the newer abilities so you could get the information on those, but I hope this helped you guys out and gives you kind of maybe a goal to go for if you don't have some of these abilities and you use some of these styles, because they're all super useful in their own ways. So if this video helped you out, of course leave a like, and like I said before, subscribe for much more RuneScape 3 content, and I'll see you all in the next video.